start with the introduction. Just tell us where you're from, your name, where you're from, which university, and what you would like to share.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Pranav. I'm from the Chicago suburbs, and I attend the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the United States, and I study economics and data science.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm entrepreneur from Czech Republic. We are doing hero content. I'm a CEO and co-founder. We are doing content for restaurants and then placing brands like Coca-Cola inside of that content.
Hello, I'm Daniel. I also go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm from Connecticut, and I'm a project manager for our group.
Hi, my name is Alex Tankos. I'm the tech mentor. I work for a company called FNZ as a head of AI. My experience is 18 years working with the data, with the tech. I had this privilege to also work with multiple projects across the world. After 15 years, I come back to Czech Republic. I'm from Switzerland. I also quite involved in ice hockey. I used to coach or play and a coach. And I become a mentor because I love to analyze students and improve the students. And I think it's the fantastic setup, and I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this introduction. So maybe, Chris, you will present what you've already done.
Hello, everyone. So we're working with Hero Content AI, which is a restaurant AI marketing platform. So we were targeted with helping LSE and Hero Content expand to the United States and target that restaurant market. So we'll be talking about what we were set out to solve, our pivot in direction, as well as we researched the competitive landscape, how we can take on customers, turn them from people trial running it into actual clients, and then finally our impact. So the problem that we were tasked with solving was bridging the gap between the European market and the US market. So Hero Content runs their entire workflow through WhatsApp, onboarding processes, as well as showing the actual restaurants what posts they will be posting essentially. About 19% of Americans have a WhatsApp account or use WhatsApp compared to the 95% mark in Europe. So without WhatsApp, Hero Content will not work in the United States. Restaurant owners have some of the highest turnover rates in the United States. It's one of the worst companies to get into is working with restaurants. So they don't have a lot of time to commit to branding, especially if they're a smaller one location restaurant. So Hero Content, without that workflow, they won't be able to help that problem. And the US market's just too big to not get involved with. Especially in large cities like New York, Chicago, Miami, there's tons of clients that are out there for us, but without bridging the gap, we won't be able to compete.
So when we were first given this project and problem a couple months ago, we approached it with a development-first mindset, planning on finding a solution to the WhatsApp problem and building it with our company. But after initial meetings and work with our team, we realized that there's a lot more to understanding the American integration than just communication. And we realized we're actually more valuable to Hero Content by using our American insights to research and make sure that all the decisions we make are based on real data. So the solution that we researched and pitched to Hero Content for the WhatsApp problem was using SMS messaging as our mode of communication. We proposed using a third-party service called Twilio to obtain an American phone number and comply with all messaging laws. And we picked SMS as the most effective solution based on our research of communication in America. We found it to be superior to all other means, such as email, due to things like a much higher opening rate, response rate, and other statistics. We also researched the competitive landscape for Hero Content in America, and we found that most competitors fall into three categories, being traditional restaurant marketing agencies, AI marketing platforms, and content tools. But we found drawbacks to each of these. For traditional agencies, we found that they are very expensive and hard to scale. for AI marketing platforms, we didn't find any that were specifically targeted for restaurants like we are. And for the content tools, they have limited workflows and involve and require more user effort and input. And so this research was super beneficial for our company because we found the perfect gap for hero content to fill in the industry because we combine all the features desired across these categories that a restaurant would need for a very affordable price in comparison. And so our next step in research and our current step is focusing on retention and finding clients to stay and making them stay. So we've been finding and analyzing social media posts on platforms like Instagram and TikTok to look at trends and patterns and find what we can bring back to our content generation and improve our engagement and posts, which is super important because this will not only bring us clients, but when they see the success, they will turn into success stories for bringing in additional clients.
So our impact so far has been our American knowledge, which is pretty important. As Pranav just mentioned, especially when restaurants see the actual numbers from views and likes that their content will get, that is it's not a monetary way of success, but it will give them a more reassuring way to know that their restaurant is at least getting out there and being seen by people. So the validation is also super important because the US laws are pretty strict, and so spending a lot of time researching, the A2P, which means you have to register your business in America, which as a Czech company is a little bit hard to do. It's really beneficial that we were able to spend time to actually look into those laws. Defining the competitive landscape is also super important. Knowing where your company intersects other platforms is pretty important so that you can market yourself better to restaurants when that comes time. And we are also building a roadmap for client retention with the algorithmic posts. And so what comes next? So, recruit 5 to 10 new pilot restaurants, give them a free trial in order to build case studies that we can then put on Hero Content's website. So when a new restaurant comes and looks at their website, they will see that they have trial and tested cases with clients that do come back. The Twilio infrastructure, so launching that SMS messaging platform and onboarding that to their own workflow is pretty important. And deploy the trending content research, so training their AI model to output all the same reels from Instagram and TikTok that do so well when it comes to food and restaurants. Thank you.
How did you approach the conversation when you wanted to pivot and you wanted to change what really the focus and outcomes were going to be? How was that managed as serving the client and as a team? Just curious.
So, as technical students here studying machine learning and having backgrounds in coding, it was pretty important to us to have the developing capabilities that, if we want to put it on our resume, we can.
Yeah.
But when we originally proposed the idea of the SMS service to them, they came back to us and told us, this is great. We can program it pretty easily, and it's more helpful for us if you guys can do the research as Americans. Mm-hmm. So it was brought upon us from LSE and Anton and the guys at Hero Content, and we came back and in our leadership classes kind of talked about what's really important. And so what was important was helping them out, and research is always helpful. So I think we made a pretty democratic decision where we're like, okay, yeah, let's do research, it'll help them out. It's still good for us because whatever endeavor you enter in your professional life, research is needed.
Wonderful, thank you.
And I could add here, it was really important for us because immediately after we started this program, I had a business trip to New York for 1 month. We needed to get those insights from guys and to test those insights with clients. So you wrote there that we have next steps about a few clients. We already have paying clients in US, thanks to guys. And we came to them with new approach, not WhatsApp, but SMS. And then also with guys, we tested those pieces of content for US especially, and we immediately tested it. And thanks to them, we got first clients in US, and we continue growing in New York now.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
How did you deploy the trending research, the content research? Did you use technical skills to do that?
There weren't a ton of technical skills really required for just for that part. We kind of just went on Instagram and TikTok as those are
Deep
the-
dives?
Yeah. No, hashtag.
just like
food.
searching up keywords, like looking at
Yeah.
like sounds, audios, like finding patterns and trends. It's more like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A two-part question.
Yeah.
Talk about the length of this project. How long did you work on it from start to where you are now? And then second, do you find yourself thinking differently when you are the user of restaurants now, and when you go back to the US, will you think about it differently because of this?
Yeah, so for the first part of your question, every week, 2 weeks, we've had kind of a set goal. So the first few weeks, it was researching how we can bridge the gap, from WhatsApp. The next week was competitor landscapes and so on and so forth. So it's kind of just, we've had a very good, we've had a pretty decent amount of set goals, and so it's been mapped out pretty well. And then when it comes to looking at restaurants, I use Google, as anyone does, see the reviews and such. But now I do see my algorithm pushing a lot of stuff on Instagram when it comes to restaurants. And so it does make me think about, why does this reel or video do so well? And that kind of helps us out with this. So it does have us think a little bit differently.
I have a question that's not so much on the technical side, but on the leadership side. So maybe what were those one or two things that you discovered about yourself from a leadership standpoint in the start of the project and now at the end of the project?
Yeah. Okay. So I think for me, I am the project manager for our group. I haven't had a project management role ever. And I originally thought that I was, pretty good at multitasking and assigning roles. But with such a diverse group of skill, it becomes a little bit tricky, especially when you have 2 developers and we're doing research. So mapping out how to allocate what work became pretty difficult for me, and I think that's where I learned the most about what some of my weaknesses were. We also had to use Notion or Jira, which is a project management platform, which I've never used. So I was using the free account, but I realized you can't have people edit when you have the free account. So now I've had to switch to Excel. So it's been quite a decent amount it's been a decent learning curve. But.
Yeah, and for me, in addition to the services we've had to use that I also haven't used before, I would say just working with like cross-cultural, that's also super new for us. LSC and Alex. And I'd also just say the frequency of presenting is also new to me, especially the classes I take in Madison. Like, it's more just on your own, on your screen.
From the mentor perspective?
Yeah, I was just going to add one thing about this, what he mentioned about this project management. I think sometimes I'm pretty tough to them, just to make things on the record, because that's my practical experience, as a freelance or you work in a corporate, you share your progress with multiple stakeholders. I tell them, like, please, everything measure, give me estimated time and such a thing. So I give them this knowledge and push them that direction. I think they getting, and they going very transparent, very redistribution the workflow between themselves. That was also one of my requirements, that we involve every single member of the team somehow equally, because each of them has a different skills. But we make sure that someone who is more technical go for more technical sides, someone who is less technical go for more commerce. And I think this project was brilliant, because this kind of go both the technical skills go for the business, and I think it's a brilliant bridge to the, let's say, their professional life. Yeah.
Any other questions?
There was a question about somebody asked about mentor. You want to ask? Yeah.
I was curious if what you all said your sort of growth areas are. Have you all as the leaders, have you seen anything else that you'd add to the growth and learning?
It's like, I think, sorry to say that, but you know, we and it's in general, you will probably say absolutely that's not right. We're dealing with transition between childhood and adulthood, and this is the kind of each of the individual has a different percentage of the maturity, and also this project, it helps them, it's first touch with the, say, reality, and in some cases they can pick it up quicker. Some cases they need a little bit more my attention and navigate them through the difficulties.
As part of your role as mentor and being able to analyze each team member and where their strong points are and the things that, were you all able to add a compliment to say, this is the area you're strong, from my observations, here's the areas you need to work on, and incorporating that, that mentorship and that learning to that student? Is that part of what you're...
Yeah, that's something that most of my professional life, I work with the data, so analyzing data on a daily basis, that's my daily, so analyzing students, that's something I have to do. And then a little bit apply a bit of psychology. And work with each individual different, and then try to motivate them, try to give them also space. They can, I always tell them, please bring some innovation, some solution, and sell to the company. I can help you to sell it to them, right? Try to think that he is your client, you know, and so that's what I try to do with them, and yeah, I think hopefully they're picking up. I think this group is fantastic.
From your observations, what were your kind of insights?
I think important part was that we really had hard deadlines. So we started this project, and immediately, I think within 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we had this trip. So we had to prepare everything. So they had like a few weeks to understand what is this project about, and then to understand this gap and how to prepare a solution for us. So I think that really task from real life about those deadlines, and I think that's the most important lesson from my side was to them.
Has this experience made you think of projects that you might want to come back to a student group like this to do for you in the future?
Yes, basically we started with one project, and immediately after we finished it within a month, we started the next one. So I think definitely we have a lot of stuff. We have a small group, a small team. I think we have 5 people, and we always have some projects.
Sure.
You need resources.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Earlier they were talking about a focus on communication from different lenses, and 2 of them were intercultural and the other intergenerational. And I'm wondering what you learned about intercultural and intergenerational communication through this project.
May I pick it up quickly? This is one of the motivation I took this. That's why I'm mentoring, because I'm 40. It's still not old enough. And,
Very young.
and I think the motivation is also to learn how to communicate with the younger generation. 20 years difference, right? So I've always been with the older groups, older leaders, and I think there's also motivation for me to work with young guys. Yeah.
And I could also touch on that too. Especially, we have work at the summer internships. It's pretty important to gain that experience talking with people who are, going to be older than us. So when we have, when they need stuff from us and we're communicating well, sure, maybe use a bit more punctuation and clean up your messages a little bit. Make sure there's no typos. But it's been pretty beneficial to have this experience before we go on to, our internships this summer.
Anything to add?
Did you have any challenges along the way, and how did you deal with them? I mean, in terms of the dynamics of the different folks on the team.
Yeah. So, we're studying abroad, so a lot of people like to travel. And so, we don't always end up in the same location together. So it's been a huge emphasis on communicating through WhatsApp, which has been, it's been tough. You might think that kids our age text constantly. We do go on our phones a lot, but we're not always texting each other. And so making sure people are getting their deliverables through, especially me as the project manager, that's been a little bit of a challenge, but we've seemed to, maneuver our way around it. And the leadership class that we have twice a week is also very beneficial because that is a set time for all of us to meet, and we have to be there, otherwise we get marked absent. So, but that's where we also, meet up and make sure if I have to say something to someone, it's easier to do it in person than over the phone, I find. So.
Rajesh, any challenges from you?
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I think another part that made that harder was LSC being in New York for a month, I would say. Because that was pretty early in the project that you moved. So before that, we had like a weekly meeting time that we stuck to pretty well. And then after that, for the month, it became a little harder. We definitely had to adjust. But yeah, I think like Daniel said, I think we did a good job of managing and communicating.
So you are most of the way through your semester. I'm curious, when you think forward to going back to campus or your internships this summer, how will you explain why this experience in Prague mattered?
Okay. I'd say that, a lot of kids at our school do go abroad. So a lot of people will have the same experience, but this program in particularly will be set apart from all the rest because of this professional aspect, which I think is super important. The job market's pretty tough, and I think this program will allow people to accelerate their resumes through having guaranteed experience, which is really important. You look at requirements for job applications and it's 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, which most people probably will not have. And so I think the professional aspect of this program is super beneficial, as well as the classes that this program offers. It fulfills a lot of stuff from my major, I'm sure Pranav as well, which is very important, especially coming from an intense and rigorous program at Wisconsin. And we also get to touch on the more like emotional side of business, so communication, interpersonal connections, which is really, really helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the focus of this program, not just in the leadership class and this project, but just all the classes offer. I mean, I'm only taking a few of them, but I just know that all of them they just have this focus on like your maturing and your like transition to what's after, and that's a lot different from not only home, but I think every other abroad program that I know of at least. So I think that definitely sets it apart and prepares us really well.
So is that what brought you here? Did you expect this when you chose the program?
So the first thing I looked at was the class requirements and what I needed or what would count for what I need to graduate, and that like brought it down to a short list. But once I had a short list, that was one of the main factors that set it apart.
It almost sounds like you were using your resume as the baseline for what you wanted to add to that when you came out of this, and so you feel like that achieved it?
Yeah, definitely. And also just from a location standpoint, everyone wants to travel, so the ease from Prague is pretty. Yeah.
I study computer science and data science.
My name is Allison. I'm from Minnesota and I go to school at the University of Minnesota, and I'm studying computer science.
My name is Petr Bařík. I'm software developer and data engineer, and I work for a startup that produces software that is called CAT. Just to explain what it is briefly, it helps the data teams, like data engineers and data team leaders, verify that the result of their work is correct. Because data is something like blood in the company, circulating throughout. And data engineers always develop new things, always deploy new stuff, and they need some verification that everything works just fine. And in software development world, everything is tested, and there is lots of investment in testing in general. But in data world, we believe that it's underestimated, definitely. That's why we developed this product.
Our mission up here, obviously, Peter already went over it a little bit, but yeah, so CAT is a low-code data testing automation tool. Designed to kind of fill that gap, save time, which is something that developers and employees in general are always looking to. And we were brought in to help analyze. The company kind of had a lot of data and not a lot of time and manpower to analyze it, so that's what we were brought in for, helping to analyze the telemetry data, the user data, so that we could help to kind of extract insights, create analysis, and give recommendations for what should be best in the future. So this is what we have so far. At the beginning, we had a little bit of a delay just with adjusting to the program, adjusting to the company and their goals, and just adjusting to each other, I would say, a little bit. And so after about 3 weeks, we kind of realized that we had a lot of work to make up. And so we ended up doing a 1-week sprint in which we completed a lot of the work that you'll see here. And we've been trying to continue kind of that level and that speed of analysis as well.
So, like Allison said, our goal was basically to analyze user data to see why certain users are not engaging with the program as much as other users, and figure out ways that we can retain more users. So we ended up basically analyzing 14,213 different sessions, which broke down to about 120 users. And then I used a cluster map to figure out what segments are there, what patterns certain users are committed, and and it basically helped me to break down the 120 users into 4 different instances, being users, frequent users, new users, and very frequent users. And I found out that about 25% of the users that use the platform a lot, on average, do 141 more clicks per session than new users, perhaps. So after we broke down the data and figured out that there's 141 difference between new users and very frequent users, I went in depth to figure out what the patterns are and why certain users are not engaged with the program as much. And I figured out that about 75% of new users don't get the initial value that the product offers early on, within like the first 4 to 5 minutes of them using the platform, which ends up not necessarily coming back, or not using the product as much as they should. And after tracing their behaviors and their patterns, I realized that one of the root causes is the fact that the user interface doesn't necessarily guide you yet into like what to do. It doesn't give you that instant dopamine release. It doesn't instantly show you that the value of the product, and that's what caused such a huge drop off.
Yeah, so this is a funnel analysis that I completed to kind of see, how many users were making it to, creating a test, running a test, and then like saving the results or running another test. So as you can see, we have a lot of people creating a test and not so many saving a project. So obviously there's a big gap there. Maybe they're running the test, they're not liking the results, they're not liking the program, and so they're just not continuing forward. Yes, a lot of users really our main problem is that new users are kind of opening the platform and just closing it immediately, and they're just never starting a test, they're never running a test. But users who do actually use the program use it a lot, and they use it constantly, and they make up a lot of the data.
So after we realized that, after we broke down the users to 4 different segments, we went and analyzed every individual segment and realized that on average, for a user to be a frequent user, there's about a 12 click critical action gauge, where if they don't necessarily get an initial value or figure out the initial value of the project within the first 12 clicks, they're more, like about 80% more likely to not use a program again. And one of the ways that we kind of like pitched to the company of like how to solve that issue is by creating a demo as soon as you open the application to give you that initial dopamine and also like show you the initial value of the application. Basically like very basic features, and then over time slowly advance to more advanced features so you get a better understanding of what the program offers. And yeah, like I said, so here's basically like we made a 4-phase solution. In the first phase we said we want to kind of like redesign the user interface to where in the first 10 minutes you run like 5 or 6 different testers and on a couple of different data sets just to see how each tester is used and what value it might give you. And then we also, like I said earlier, basically introduce a demo in the front basically to show you how to use the application to slowly guide you through it. And then over time, introduce you to more advanced features. And also gamify the experience a little bit by including more interactive user interfaces. Basically, once you complete a test, confetti might pop up or something like that, just to help engage.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, and so this is sort of the future that we're looking at here. Right now, we're really focusing on retention. So just keeping brand new users engaged, bringing them back for more. And we'd also like to look at, we'd also like to look at, progressive mastery. So hiding advanced features, maybe it's not everything's available right away. Maybe, we're really walking them through how to do it because, this is a low-code tool. It's not really meant for people who always know exactly what they're doing, I suppose. The rude way to put it. Yeah, and so these are some of our goals that we're kind of looking at. In general, we're just trying to improve the return rate. I would say, at 50% is a pretty decent rate to shoot for. We're looking for, a lot smaller time action of value. So a lot of users, opening the program, kind of just staring at the screen and closing it. So trying to get them just to that first action.
And then, also the immediate next steps. Okay, so that was after like we said, like our immediate actions basically like to give them like the first phase solution to like their problem, but then also as we also added new metrics to get a better understanding of the user data to also like see if the roadmap actually is like somewhat correct, or is it actually going to solve the issue, and we're constantly doing data analysis on new data that's been added based on like the insights we give the company and new updates they release. And then, so as a developer, I really think like CAT it's a wonderful tool. It solves like a huge issue, which is like the fact that there's a lot of data out there, not a lot of testers to really see the data accurate, if the data is accurate or up to date, and that's what they offer. And basically my team, all we had to do was just sit down and analyze the user behavior to see if what's the problem with the application, why is it not so widely used, or why aren't as many users retaining the value and seeing the value of the application, and that's basically it.
I think it will also help our visitors to understand more about the project. What would you say, maybe even Peter, you can share as well, what is the main difference if you would compare it, just like a standard internship at some company and then challenge project and your work as a team? What would be the main differences?
I say like the big,
you can start.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, the biggest difference is the fact that we have like a class called Data Innovation that like we meet twice a week, because they constantly teach us how to like navigate the work field, and like if you're facing like this issue and whatnot, they tell you how to navigate it, steps and a framework basically to help you like figure out the problem and then find a solution, which you don't necessarily, I don't think you necessarily get that same insight when you're in internship, because it's whether you know it or not. I mean, there's a mentor you can talk to, but not they don't necessarily give you like a framework of how to like approach similar situations.
Thank you.
For us, both forms of cooperation would be beneficial. Like we like the challenge project definitely, but we are open to internships too. So we are
happy to hear
we are
that.
startup, so we are 3 or 4 people, even less. And every set of hands additional is very beneficial, because we have lots of things to do. People, our customers are requiring new features. We have new ideas. We have to implement things, and we just cannot afford to implement everything. So every new manpower is welcome. And for startups like us, it's a question of survival, even to correctly choose what to implement, what to not implement, because we simply cannot implement everything that that people require.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yes, please.
So, a couple of questions. Why Team Oslo? And second, as you were doing this analysis, was it only working with data, or were you talking to clients as well to actually get a sense of what their user experience is?
Yeah. Well, team also was, each team is required to pick a name that's a capital of the European country. I actually picked Oslo because, well, I'm traveling there this weekend, and I'm Norwegian, so I thought, well, you know, it works out. Yeah, so that one's, you know, maybe not such a interesting answer there, but yeah. Sorry, could you repeat your second question?
Yeah, so as you were doing the analysis, were you working only with data, or were you actually talking to clients to understand their user experience and why there was a drop-off?
Yeah, we've only been working with directly with the data so far, with the telemetry.
It is anonymous data, so it's not even possible, because we have a set of products, and one of them is new. It's called Cat Studio. It's a desktop application. And the guys were analyzing mainly this new application which we released in December. So and there is no required registration, because it's blocker for spreading it out. Maybe, I don't know. We are considering even obligatory registration for users, but so far it's not necessary. So people just download it, install it, try to use it, and we are not very successful, as guys found out, because with the product, actually, we are successful at our current clients. We have up to 10 enterprise clients who regularly renew their licenses. It's a relatively pricey product, but they like it. They use it very nicely. They even depend on it, and they every year pay license fees for the product. But we have problems to reproduce the success for new clients. So that's why we tried to this new desktop application. Guys were analyzing that. People are downloading it, but there is very little segment of these new people who stick with the product and use it. We even iterated, and we even had some iterations. Like guys found out that some people drop it immediately, but many people just are exploring the application, like checking what it is doing, probably, or something. So we even added some more telemetry, like were they really in the application, or did they switch to something else and then they return, so you can measure net time and stuff like that. So it was very nice cooperation, I would say, and it was bringing us real value, because we simply wouldn't have time to analyze the data ourselves because of other tasks.
Have you launched the solution already?
We launched an update. We like with ways, like, I mean, we include a little bit, but it's very time consuming, because there's one developer and there's so much to change about the program. It's like we're slowly launching updates, and we're slowly adding more metrics to analyze their behaviors to see if they're accurate. Yeah.
What about the demo? Is that?
It's what we pitched about 2 weeks ago, so we haven't necessarily had enough time to incorporate it. So I mean, that's one of the things that's in the making, in the roadmap. Peter could probably tell you more about when he's looking forward to implementing it. But yeah, that's one thing we talked about that's in the future, in the making for future updates.
Yeah, a lot of the work we've been doing is is really in the analysis. It's what is the data telling us? What are the problems? How can we fix them? Not exactly making the fixes quite.
So I guess I asked this question on the other group too, and I'll ask it for you guys, but what have you learned about yourselves, about your leadership, about, what are the big takeaways from the project? From a more, not so much on the tactical side, but on the soft skill side.
I mean, I'd say like working with people with completely like different skills, different understanding of technology is like a little bit hard because like everybody has a different insight on how to approach a certain situation. So like coming down and like talking about like how your approach, what your approach is, and like figuring out what the better approach is. It's very time consuming, it's a little bit difficult, but once it's done, like you kind of get a better understanding of whether your approach is right or whether there's a better and more optimal solution to the problem than you initially thought. So like the different perspectives kind of like help guide you to figure out like whether you were missing something or like you had the right idea.
I would say I definitely learned a lot about my communication skills, or perhaps lack thereof. That was something I struggled with a lot at the beginning of the project because I was just I was really thinking through every message that I was sending, and I kind of realized that it's just really, the important part about communication is the communication, and it's not always about the exact way that it's coming through. And Peter and the company have been really great. They're very, very kind in their messages, and it's very good communication. So it's been really good for me to be able to kind of relax just a little bit. I'm still capitalizing everything, but
And also we learned a lot. It was a learning also for us, because one of the things we wanted was new perspectives. From academic world, we gave guys complete freedom in choosing tools, and with some limitations. Of course, we need to we reproduce the numbers they produce. We need to reproduce it on our site as well. But they had freedom in choosing of the tools they use for the analysis. Even the instructions what to analyze and what should be the areas to analyze were not that tight, I would say. So they had freedom, like in coming with ideas, what is interesting to measure. And we wanted new perspective, and we definitely got it. So we had lots of ideas from guys that we will definitely use in our work in both projects. We actually had 2 groups from IFSA, so we liked the cooperation a lot.
Anything?
So you said you had, the delay in the first 3 weeks, and you had to do the sprint, which I think is really a smart way to catch up. Everybody has to do that. What, I think I could probably tell, but were there challenges with the project, or how, you were designing things that contributed to that slower start than you wanted?
I think there were challenges with the project. I would say it was more of challenges within the group. The company was really great with providing, this is what we would like you to do. The class was really moving us along, and I think we were all just sort of, those first few weeks were kind of a lot with culture shock and just meeting all of these people, and everyone's traveling, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I am. I don't know how to say thank you yet. So I think it was just kind of adjusting to each other and adjusting to our roles. And personally, I haven't done a group project in a few years either. So just kind of getting back into that mindset.
Just to follow up, how many people are in your group, and did you have a project manager?
4 people, and our project manager is unable to attend.
When you think of your experience and going back, if you had to describe your experience, how would you describe it?
I'd definitely say it was just like very unique, because most of my friends are traveling abroad and are studying abroad, and none of them are really doing an internship abroad. Like, for example, like the biggest difference between doing an internship here and doing an internship in the U.S. is the fact that you're getting more of an international experience. Like you're in a different environment, different culture, different market, and you're kind of like figuring out how to navigate with people from completely different part of the world, and how to like handle conversations with them, and how to build products for them. Which I don't think that's something you necessarily get to do in the U.S. That's 1. 2, we're also doing it for education. So like there's a lot of support there to help you like navigate basically to achieve the goal long term, which is completely different. And I mean, it's been a great experience. And also, like, the biggest thing is like leading innovation. Like the frameworks that they teach you on how to navigate the corporate world or like a business sector is like not something I necessarily knew was there or like I've heard about. So it's like it's good that I got that insight.
So would you say that ramping up was the biggest challenge? Would you say that to do this, to repeat it again, start with like sprint zero, right? Which is pure orientation, not even getting into the real problem yet, just getting through that dynamics so that you can get the engine moving and then start to think about what the product is and what the solutions are. That be something that came out of, I know it's a leading question.
I think that could be helpful, definitely. Yeah, I think I think a lot of the problem was kind of that we were walking into this as students, and so, we're used to like, here's an assignment, do the assignment, and that's not really what we were getting. It was more of like, okay, there's 4 of you, we want your insight and we want you to do what you want to do. And of course, we were kind of like, well, we don't know what we want to do. And so, yeah, I think maybe, yes, I like that idea.
Can I get your thoughts on your reflections of your experience?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I think it's a really valuable experience for sure. I would say I agreed with a lot of what Muti said. It's very unique. I'm very accustomed to internships where you walk in the door and it's just you, you and a supervisor, and they kind of just give you work and you do it. And it's not really, my internships, I haven't had a lot of experience with, like building relationships in any kind of way, or group work, or a lot of soft skills. It's been a lot of, please code this, okay, thanks, now code this, okay, thanks. So I think it's been really valuable for me to, learn to work with a group in like a realistic team style.
Thank you.
I'd like to follow up. Were there spillover effects to that teamwork, to how you interacted with people in Prague?
What do you mean by spillover?
Like, if you learn how to work and develop relationships with someone who's local in this small group, does that affect the way in which you think about how you interact with people in Prague more generally?
I mean, yes, because part of like leading innovation, you had to like do a networking event, and so once basically figure out what the culture, what the standards are. When you take that into consideration, you go and you have a conversation with people, whether you're networking or just like running on the street, which I tend to do a lot. So I feel like it does. Once you learn something about the culture, you kind of just take it in and use it in different conversations, whether it was technical networking and whatnot. Does that answer your question? Or is that
Yes.
Yes.
So Patricia's question kind of got at this, but I'm thinking further ahead. When you're finished the program and you're applying for internships, or you're talking to other students or just other people, how will you explain to them what mattered most to you about this time abroad, this program specifically?
No, you got it.
I was gonna say the biggest thing is when you back at UW-Madison, right? The focus on classes, passing the classes and whatnot. But I feel like the focus here is more about accelerating your technical experience, right? So we have a lot of focus on technical projects, your internships, basically more work affiliated experience, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. Contribute to my understanding of how what a team setting should look like in a business sector. But also classes are just a little bit easier here, so you kind of can focus more on what you actually like and figure out what you actually like about technology. And I feel like it gave me the opportunity to do so, and just figure out different. For example, I just wanted to when I came here, I wanted to be a full stack developer, but then I had machine learning class, and I sat down and I talked to my professors and had a couple of conversations, and I figured out that I really like AI and machine learning and building software within that sector. And I was like, okay, so how can I get into it? And then I ended up doing more projects, and just learn more. And then, so yeah, I feel like it does help a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with a bit of what Muti was saying in the beginning. It's just a lot more, yeah, in classes it's very, I have to do well in this assignment, I have to get a good grade. And here I definitely feel a bit more like I'm like, I want to work on this skill. And I want to, it's kind of directing me more towards that rather than towards academics, which has been really nice. Yeah, I think in explaining that, I would definitely talk a lot about kind of like the business skills that I've developed and more of the softer skills. I'd never heard of methodologies or project management frameworks or any of that. Or I'd never heard of Agile. So I think that's very helpful walking in just from like an understanding what people are saying standpoint, if I'm in kind of a stand-up meeting and everyone is saying all these words, I know what they mean now, and I can kind of translate that into actual understandable things in my head.
I had a question, speaking of skills and skills building during the program. So when you think about your own marketability out there in the tech sector for the future, during this program, what skill, or maybe one or two skills, do you now feel that much more confident about when it comes to your own employability in the future?
I mean, I think I've brought this up a few times, but definitely for me, my communication skills.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say, yeah, communication for sure. I don't know, I think kind of, I suppose this is a type of communication, but sort of just specifically speaking, like technically, like explaining this is what I'm going to work on, this is what I am working on, this is what I've done. Like what do you want from me specifically? Yeah, I suppose I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Like feedback, like getting feedback or giving, is it
Yes,
about that?
yeah. Just clarifying expectations, I suppose.
Okay,
yes.
yeah. Interesting.
Very nice, thank you.
And for me, I definitely say like I'm like, as of right now, I'm like more comfortable in like, whether, it doesn't matter what part of the tech role you're gonna throw me in, I'm gonna have enough background to like, so I could like actually contribute and give value to my team. That's the biggest thing that I've been working on. That's one, too. Also teamwork. I mean, I've had like collaborative settings where I work with people on projects, on many different projects. However, I've known the people. It wasn't just like somebody I've never seen, never talked to before. Hey, we're a team now. Let's figure this out. So definitely that gave me a lot of insight how I could like navigate, like conversations with people that I'm not familiar with whatsoever.
Do both of you, prior to this experience, would you say you liked and or excelled in teamwork, team projects, or no?
So I mean, before, if you'd have asked me before like this experience, I would say yes. But like after this experience, I'd say I'm constantly learning and evolving over time. Like I thought I knew it all, and then I came here, and then I got hit with people I've never seen, never talked to before. Just like also like we didn't necessarily have classes, so we were not familiar with each other. And then we sat down, we had a conversation, figured out what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how like we could help each other grow. Which is something I didn't really have to do before, because like, you get thrown in like in a class project, you know the expectations, but in this setting, I didn't. So figuring out how to navigate those was very helpful.
Yeah, I would say I was previously not really a fan of teamwork on like exclusively programming projects because I think, I don't know, something about code just makes it really hard to work with other people, I think. I think it's just very obvious immediately what people's skill sets are and their skill levels. But I think this has really taught me, the value of humility.
I love it.
And the value of saying, hey, I think you're better at me than this. I think this would suit you better. And I think this would suit me better.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you so much. I think we are